Hello friends and welcome back to my channel, Blue Nose Trading. My name is Tori Solis and today I'll be showing you how I center clay on the potter's wheel. This is the second video in my teaching series. In the last video we learned how and why to wedge clay to prep it for throwing. Centering is the first step on the pottery wheel. We need to get the clay spinning and centered on the wheel head. This step is notoriously tricky and can take a lot of practice to understand. But this is something that I promise you will just click one day and become second nature with enough practice. The first time I felt the clay go center was like a moment of clarity. You want to start by sitting up close to your wheel, with your thighs tight up against the sides, and keeping your back as straight as possible can help with getting the proper leverage and being kinder to your body overall. Having your wheel head level with your belly button is a great place to start if you're going to be throwing seated. You might have to mess around with the height of your wheel. Most of them are adjustable. I have mine sitting up on cinder blocks. Some people throw standing up, but I'm not about that life. I can't teach you how to be about that life, but it is a life option for anyone out there who wants to try it. You want to stick the clay to the wheel head, or in my case, the bat, as close to center as you can. The bat is just this piece of wood that I have on top of my wheel head because I'm a monster and I always throw with bats, so my wheel head is kind of gross. It's just kind of common sense though that you want to stick your piece of clay as close to center as possible so that you don't have to shove that clay around as much to get it spinning perfectly center. Depending on how wet your clay ball is and what kind of surface you're throwing on, you might have to give it a firm smack to stick the clay down well. If you don't get the clay stuck down well, it's likely that it could fly off the wheel in some sort of random direction. You need a thin coat of water between the clay and your hands at all times to center the clay. You don't need gallons of water, but you will need enough for your hands to glide across the clay without friction. A small squeeze with a sponge and freshly dunked hands usually do the trick for me. I also like to hold a damp sponge in my hand to gently let out more water as I'm working, if needed, to prevent any friction. If you don't have enough water, you're going to get a resistance that's going to cause the clay to catch in your hands. This is going to make it really difficult to center. If you use too much water, you're going to make a huge mess. When you're just starting out, it's better to make a mess than try to work without enough water, but you do not need to flood the splash pans. With my right hand in a fist, I apply a downward pressure to the clay, using the pad of the side of my hand to compress and control the clay. Simultaneously, with my left hand, I'm using my inner pad of my open hand to push the clay to the right towards the center of the wheel. The outer fingers on my left hand are not applying active pressure to the outside of the clay. They wrap around the clay loosely, but all left hand pressure is coming from the inner pad pushing inwards. This is a push, not a squeeze. Using downward and sideways pressure together while slowly squeezing the sponge to keep the clay lubricated, I apply force from my core and upper body through my hands to move the clay center against the outward force. Depending on how strong you are, this can sometimes take a surprising amount of strength and bracing. With larger pieces of clay, I find that I use my thighs to help brace my entire body against the force. It's easier to center smaller, softer pieces of clay. I suggest that you start with soft pieces that are about 1 pound. The larger and firmer the clay, the more energy and force it's going to take to center, and the harder it's going to be on your body overall. Another random thing I want to throw in here, you want to remove your hands from the centered clay while the wheel is still spinning. You want to slowly release and pull back while also slowing the wheel speed slightly, but not stopping. If you pull your hands back suddenly or stop the wheel suddenly, you can cause the clay to go off center. Clay can be a little sensitive sometimes, so you have to take things easy. Some people will cone up and down while they center on the wheel to wedge their clay. You might see that in other videos. I wedge my clay before throwing, so I don't do that here. I pretty much just get straight to business. When you're shaping your centered clay into a puck on the wheel, keep in mind of the size of the form you're wanting to throw. If you're wanting to throw something that has a wider bottom, smoosh your centered clay down into a wider puck. The size and shape that I'm making here in this video is a good basic start for a cylinder. Centering is a very challenging first step when you're starting in pottery. When I started this channel, I couldn't center or make videos. So you just gotta trust and believe that you're going to get there. Just keep practicing. This is a journey and it's a lot of fun to be on it with you. If you'd like to stick around for more of my ceramic videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel, Blue Nose Trading. If you'd like to find some of the pots I have available for sale, you can check out my website, bluenosetrading.com. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of the video. Remember that you have great ideas that are worth exploring. Drink enough water, and I will see y'all in the next video.